friends. Welcome once again to the Perfect Bound Podcast. This is a podcast all about anything and everything comic books and comics related, brought to you by the Panel Jumper and Comics Dungeon. My name is Ben. With me, as always, is Cole Hornaday.
Hello.
Chris Casso.
Hello.
And Nicole Lamb.
Hello.
With your power earrings.
Pow! Bam!
And you got power shirt.
And your Liechtensteinian fingernails.
I'm very themed.
You're like one of those bad news reports about how comics aren't for kids anymore.
Kapow!
Bam!
Oh, yeah? Bam! Kapow!
It ain't your daddy's comic strip.
Boy, it's a hot one this evening, isn't it? I think we're all
very
feeling
It's hot
the
in
heat.
here.
It's hot in here.
It's like 10
cool.
degrees colder.
It's cooling off outside. Again, this is one of those weeks where I just want to take the show outside on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Take it on the road. All right,
to the
well, to the street. Taking it to the street. All right.
Dancing
hey,
in the
it's
streets.
time for another segment of Welcome to the Comics Dungeon. What's selling this week and what should be selling this week? What is selling this week, guys?
Well, the Cry Havoc trade paperback from Image just came out, and that's getting a lot of hype online recently. I think you just sent me like a link to that too,
I did,
as well.
and I bought a copy,
Yep.
and I'll probably be reviewing it at our next show, which will be 4 episodes from now.
Yes.
Don't confuse the people.
Sorry,
Last week, the Labyrinth...
because it's got werewolves.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The Labyrinth 30th anniversary special came out and sold out really fast, so I'll be reviewing that this episode.
That's got
Yeah.
name recognition.
Yes. All-Star Batman by Snyder's been selling pretty consistently. You were here yesterday with me. What else sold? I can't-
Rebirth stuff is always selling.
Still going strong?
Still,
Where we have a
Maybe
Civil War. The
Oh, that number
Number
4
4
sold. Yeah,
was-
number 3 sold really well because spoilers.
reasons,
That's
no?
we're about past. The Hulk's been murdered by Hawkeye.
oh darn it! I haven't read it yet.
Oh,
All right,
sorry.
just pretend you didn't hear that.
You can't unhear that.
Sorry.
Oh well. Nobody
Save
really
you some
dies.
time.
it's like
Yeah.
Thor dying or Wolverine
Yeah.
dying.
As
no one
we've
really
learned,
died.
Cole, in
Yeah.
comics,
Yeah.
no one really dies.
Yeah, so
they just sort of
the
drift
Civil
away.
War issues consistently sell out for us,
Okay.
and we have to restock those periodically.
Mm-hmm.
Human Body Theater is something that Chris has reviewed before, and it does sell out. We just got a restock in this week, but I don't
almost
expect it to
gone.
last for very long.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, Gwenpool's still doing okay for us. Harley Quinn had a big sellout for us, and we just got our restocks finally, and slow down a little bit. So I think it's just that the heat of Suicide Squad, just that 1 week, did a thing.
How about the Batman Ninja Turtles?
The
Trade.
hardcover, I've
Yeah,
done a couple
hardcover.
so far, so
Alright.
yeah, and that just came in, so that's nice and fresh. It's actually well priced for what it is, so that helps it.
Is there anything in here that you're trying to pawn off on people? Like, you need to buy this. It's great. It's not selling, but it's great.
I'll do that later in a different review.
Okay.
For the new printings of Atomic Robo. Yeah, no, I don't know. I have trouble making Kaiju Max sell still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you-
Well, it's like the saddest thing ever, and I refuse to read it because of that.
Yeah.
Even though I probably would really enjoy it, but I can't. Maybe you should just be like, this is a great monster story.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Cool.
But
Backstagers
Yeah.
is something that is like boy Lumberjanes. I'll review this later.
Lumberjanes.
Lumberjanes.
It's a stretch. I'm sorry.
I like it though.
not a bad stretch.
So I'll be reviewing this later, but this is something that isn't necessarily flying off the shelves, but I
Right.
feel is totally in line with stuff that does fly off the shelves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. And something else?
Black Hammer is worth mentioning.
Okay.
That's Jeff Lemire's new book from Dark Horse. It's very, very, very late. I believe the artist had some health issues. And so number 1's been doing solid. Number 2 just finally came in this week. And so that's worth checking out. Jeff Lemire always tells an interesting kind of messed up story.
Jeff
Alrighty.
Lemire's kind of everywhere right now.
He's a
very
name that I
hip.
hear a lot of
He's
these
becoming
days.
the Colin Bunn and the Jodie Belair.
Well, how's
Yeah.
Descender selling? Is it still
That's one
doing
of our
really well?
top sellers,
Yeah,
hands down.
consistent.
I like that book.
Yeah. I think it's like within our top 10 list of trades, it's like number 4 or 5. And the single issues have like the next biggest chunk of subscriptions right after Saga and maybe the Star Wars books.
Cool.
Something like that. So, yeah.
What do you have there, Nicole?
This is a line from Pop, the
Aw.
Funko Pops, and it's pets. It's just random pets. It's not a license. It's just cute puppies and kitties. And this is something that we all think should be selling, but isn't quite yet, probably because people haven't been exposed enough. But we'll shove it in their face, and then they'll buy all of them.
Then I'll just throw it at you.
Yeah, it'll
Should we
just-
put it on the
you
table
walk
like we
in-
did with the with the
We'll just do
Japanese
the next
Star Wars
episode will
figure
just
last
be a
show?
pyramid of
Yeah.
animals in
Yeah.
the center. Yeah.
All right.
Because
cool.
by the Kickstarter for my Imperial Guard samurai figure has it's still hurting people. It's still hurting.
Yeah, I gotta set that up one of these days. All right,
Wait,
moving
what?
on. Moving
Don't buy a
on.
coffee. Help Fun Cole.
Help fund Cole's thing over there, whatever it is.
Plastic obsession.
Takahishi.
Toy, okay, doll, whatever you want to get. Hey guys, so Lumberjanes is going to be a movie. It's and they've released who is going to direct it. A gal by the name of Emily Carmichael. And she's going to be directing for 20th Century Fox. Now, I brought this up because Lumberjanes is a book that we like here very much.
Yeah.
And Emily Carmichael is one, like, before she was picked to direct Lumberjanes, and before the gal who was picked to direct the Kung Fu Panda 3, 20th Century Fox had no female directors
Right.
on tap throughout 2018. And so, hooray for Emily
Woo!
Carmichael taking over Lumberjanes and not some dude.
So she did Kung Fu Panda 3?
No,
No,
she
that's
didn't.
somebody
Some
different.
other gal did,
Oh,
whose
okay,
name I don't know. My
I-
phone is actually right there, so I can't look it up.
I read her credits, Carmine or whatever.
Carmichael, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't recognize anything that she's done. I'm
She's
glad
very
it's
indie.
I'm
yeah.
glad it's a lady type because
Yeah.
it's a hardcore lady type film, and the only person we had so far was the Munchkin guy who was writing the run through of the script, and I'm like, okay, so that's good news. I hope.
Yeah.
I don't, I never want to just be like, it's a female, so it's great. It's like,
Right.
because we're human, it's
She
not
may
necessarily
totally
about gender.
suck.
She could be awful. But I think that, it's probably a good direction
Right.
to have a female directing.
Yeah.
So,
So looking forward to that. Haven't seen any of the Kung Fu Panda films, so I don't know.
I saw the first one. It had moments of charm, but there are all those, family-oriented CG film companies out there, and they just aren't Pixar. They just aren't Pixar. They
In
don't.
terms of the storytelling quality, or in terms of like the animation.
The whole kit and caboodle, brother Ben. The whole kit and caboodle. They just don't have the charm. They don't have the emotional intelligence to the storytelling. I mean, okay, let's talk about the first couple of the opening sequence of Up. I mean, that's still one of the greatest sequences in
it's so
filmmaking.
good.
It's really
Yeah.
good.
And I just caught. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a rant. Hold on.
Do it. I forgot my water.
But I finally saw Toy Story 3, and it's like you get sequel fatigue, and you think, oh my gosh, that third story, and it's going to be dreary and boring, and it was just as charming and just as smart and just as vivacious in its storytelling as the first one was. The Kung Fu Panda franchise is not.
I
Counter.
will say,
Really?
so I enjoyed the first one, but I kind of can't remember much of it. I never saw the second one, but I skipped and went straight to the third one. And the third one, other than just being really, really fun, actually had some fantastic emotional and different types of family stories. Like, he ends up with two dads after it, and that's
cool.
fantastic. It also had J.K. Simmons as the evil water buffalo, and that was one of the best villains I've seen in a long time, because he had been, like, in a magical limbo prison for, like, centuries, so when he showed up, nobody knew who he was anymore, and he was just getting really sad. He's like, I'm this guy. And finally, later on, somebody was just like, oh, I remember you. And he's like, thanks, I'll kill you last. So I will come to the defense. So the third one was really, really fun, well done.
Sweet.
Had some good emotional stuff going
Well,
on.
I'm afraid I quit worshiping at the temple of Jack Black a while back. So, just don't think he's that funny.
yeah. I mean, I guess if you can separate it and maybe because, like, he didn't necessarily write it, but it's just his voice. So I guess if it
And they had a
grates
pretty
on
big
you.
voice crew, too. And it also had Master Chicken, which I love as a character who never even had a single line. Master Chicken's the best. So, yeah.
All right.
And
Well,
for reference,
yeah.
the director is Jennifer Nelson. YUH.
Right.
I don't know if I'm saying
You?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You. for Kung Fu Panda 3. Anyway,
All right.
just to put it out there.
Cool. I haven't seen any of the Kung Fu Panda movies, I think I said. And I saw the preview for the third one. I think it was before Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and I'm all hip to see like Star Wars, and then Kung Fu Panda 3 shows up, and I'm like, what is this doing? I had an adverse reaction to the trailer for whatever reason at the time.
But apparently it's got Kung Fu water buffaloes in it.
It does.
That's a selling point.
Look forward to seeing it.
For some. Yeah.
Yeah, for some
Speaking
peoples.
of
For Chris.
adverse reactions, Suicide Squad opened recently.
Oh, yeah.
And the funny thing, has anybody seen it?
Yep.
You have seen it. Okay.
Yeah.
A huge opening weekend.
Right.
Right. I think it's already fallen off to like to 2 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah, I took a deep dive. I thought. Yeah.
Was critically panned. Rotten Tomatoes, I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes, the review aggregator site, gave it.
28%.
20%. A number of fanboys started a petition to take down RottenTomatoes.com because they didn't like the review.
Rotten Tomatoes, it just pulls from
I
all
know.
different critics. So what are you going to do?
Well, and Rotten Tomatoes, I think, is owned by Time Warner too. So it's like it's
so for anybody.
yeah, it's like they're not going to do that. It
No.
serves its purpose. It's a tool.
That's funny. So, is it any good? Do you guys
It's
like
okay.
it? Yeah.
It's
okay. It's okay?
It's not the worst thing I've seen.
Yeah, it has some strong points and it has some really weak points, which
Yeah.
just gives it like a C. For
Mostly
me.
the editing is kind of horrible.
Okay.
It's fine. It's one of those things though that I think a lot of people are really really happy with it because it's not bad, and I kind of want our standards to be a little higher.
Right.
But it had a lot of good moments. It had some fun. It had some good performances, but I'm sure the director's cut, if there will be one, will make much more sense. But the editing is just a perfect example of a corporate board of review being the director. Yeah, it's just kind of too obvious what happened to that movie.
Is it very, very like slash and burn? So like cut.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
there's just like a lot of character development for certain characters, and then little to none for some people.
Yeah.
One person is just there to die.
pretty much. Yeah.
And so they never even get
A
characterization
flashback
at
or
all.
anything.
They get nothing. They get
It's
no
the
setup.
one Native American character in the entire cast. Let's
And-
kill him
and they
as
just-
hard as we can.
Yeah, use him as an example for the story plot,
Yeah.
to move the plot
Yeah.
along. Like, no, really, we will kill you, and the Joker's terrible.
But there's people that are making petitions for like his missing scenes, and he's even whining that he got scenes cut.
But now he's saying that he was forced to do.
Yeah, I think it was
Suicide
tricked. He
Squad?
said he was tricked into
Tricked?
doing
Yeah.
Suicide Squad.
Which, if you signed a
He was sold a bill of goods when he signed the contract.
whatever.
That's a terrible thing to do to an actor, and it's so unprecedented.
Are the comics worth reading?
Different runs.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of incarnations. The current ones I've not cared much about because they're the Harley Quinn centric, where she's not quite a Harley Quinn that I like. There's been some really odd runs that you even wonder why it has the name Suicide Squad attached to it. But some of the classic stuff, the Ostrander stuff, there's some really good stuff in there. And that's the stuff that starred Captain Boomerang and Amanda Waller.
Deadshot,
Yeah,
Catman.
Deadshot. Well, the Catman's... Catman?
Well, I like the new 52 Suicide Squad only because King Shark is in it.
Yeah.
Because he's a shark guy. Walking
Then he bites
around.
people's heads off, right?
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. I wish he was in the movie and not Croc, but Croc was okay. A bit hollow, but
King Shark's over in the Flash TV series. You can only have one monster per franchise.
I know.
Okay. So let's move on. I will see it. I haven't seen it yet, but I will see it eventually. You want to go see it? Let's see it
Yeah,
together.
no, I mean, I'll see it eventually. It's just really hard for me to get excited about DC movies.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
That's actually, we'll be talking about that in a future episode. But moving on, it was revealed that in the Aquaman standalone movie, if it ever gets made, the Aquaman standalone movie starring Jason Momoa as Aquaman, that Black Manta is going to be his villain. So here's an Explain to Ben moment. Who is Black Manta?
Black Manta...
The Scourge of the Seven Seas.
Pretty much exactly that.
Okay,
He's
moving on.
He's a mercenary that always ends up fighting Aquaman, but they've added layers, and
But he is black.
He is black.
He's always been black.
Is he a pirate?
correct? Yeah,
pretty much.
He's an underwater pirate.
But he actually murdered Aquaman's son.
Yeah.
And then they just added recently that the reason he hates Aquaman is that Aquaman accidentally killed Black Manta's father. So it's a cycle of complete, family hatred going on there. But yeah, he's just basically hates the King of the Seas and really wants to murder him.
Sadly, I used to get Ocean Master and Black Manta mixed up. And Ocean Master is Orm,
His brother.
Arthur Curry's half-brother.
Yeah.
Right. So I was never a big Aquaman fan, and I got easily confused. And so which son did Black Manta kill? Because Aquaman's there have been a couple of Aqua lads. We're getting into the weeds here.
Boys.
Aqua boys.
Now, which son?
Yeah.
Well, because Aqualad was never actually related to him. He was
Right.
just like a friend of the family.
And there's been several Aqua
kids,
Aqua kids,
and,
right?
And
so
different
who was
people.
was
But this was his actual son through Mara, I believe.
Okay.
And the thing is, the kid couldn't breathe in air, so he was suffocated in a bubble or something like that. And that was some time ago.
Is that like a Silver Age story that goes into deep history?
I think that's
doesn't
like
it?
the 80s, but I can't quite
All right.
remember now. The fun thing is the animated series completely decided, like, no, we don't want to do that. And they had bearded Aquaman, and he still had two hands at that point, but he was tied up, and the sun was going to die over like a volcano vent, and he couldn't get out in time, so he took his giant A belt buckle and slashed his hand off and saved his son. So in the cartoons, they're just like, nope, we're not killing children.
Was that one of the animated films? I don't
Justice
remember.
League, no, just a Justice League cartoon series. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of kid deaths in
the
Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah. So, trying to think of Black Manta, if there's anything else really worth focusing on. Jeff Johns has focused a bit on him here and there. They kind of really wanted to bump him up as one of the key Aquaman villains.
If I want to prepare myself to go see the Aquaman movie when it comes out in 3 years, and I want to brush up on Black Manta, where should I start?
He had some stuff in the Peter David run, but I would probably actually focus on some of the new 52 Aquaman that Johns did. He basically fights a bunch of Lovecraft monsters, so that's kind of fun at the start.
Cool.
Yeah, those monsters were
Yeah,
great.
those monsters were pretty cool.
They were called like the Deep.
Yeah, the deep
Yeah.
in the dark at the bottom of the ocean,
And there's just trying to remember where some good runs. It was Black Manta, and I actually can't think of too many.
Did you ever
All right.
read like the old Jim Aparo ones from the Silver Age that are supposed
Only
to be
bits
very,
and
very
pieces?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But they've collected those in the black and white phone book editions, haven't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which some of those are going out of print.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phone book edition.
Well, the big that's what they kind of call them anymore.
Cheap
The
reprints.
cheap reprint, like Marvel has their black and white essential collections.
These are the showcases.
and exactly. And we started calling them phone books because the first publisher to take a risk on mass reprints like that was Dave Sim when he was reprinting the Cerebus books. And they were thick like phone books on inexpensive newsprint paper. And lo and behold, they actually sold pretty well. And so that's just become the model for reprinting those inexpensive editions.
The important question for the Aquaman stuff is his mother's name Martha?
Thank you. Because I was going to say, they won't have a problem if their mothers are the same name.
I actually
That'll be
just,
fine.
I think the recruitment process for the Justice League is your mother's name Martha?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're
You
going to
know.
rebrand Black Manta Black Martha.
And scene.
So, moving on.
Behold the power of Ben Lawrence! Behold! You're welcome. You are welcome.
He was like
Marvel.
one of those
I gave you the wavy arms and everything. You weren't even looking.
No, I wasn't looking. That was very much by design. Marvel announced that there are artist shakeups for a number of their books, and what I thought was interesting is that Marvel said they were going to warn the retailers that there are artist shakeups in books, and those are Thunderbolts, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., All New Inhumans, Uncanny Inhumans, and I think a couple more. Why would an artist switchover be something Marvel needed to warn a retailer about?
There actually can be sales drops or increases depending on who the artist is. Oh, see, when you sent that link, I looked it up and I'm like, oh, these are all books that don't sell anyway.
Yep.
I don't care.
That's exactly
And actually,
right. But I just don't know why they would even bother making an announcement about it.
What we call those warnings, they're called solicitations. And
Those red flags, we call those solicitations.
yeah, they happen every month. I see them in my order form. But yeah, no, they're like Thunderbolts and what was it?
Agents of
Agents of
Shield, all new Inhumans.
Yeah, I barely-
Uncanny, all the
Yeah.
Inhumans titles that nobody cares
I
about.
barely sell anything on those, so it's
Yeah.
just like
All right.
But yeah, there can be like, let's say it was a big title. Let's say it was. This happened for Batman years ago during the Grant Morrison run of Batman. Both Morrison and the artist took a break for like 2-3 issues. And the fill-in was like John Ostrander and some guy. And man, did we take a hit on those, because you have a superstar name and then you fill it with just kind of like person guy.
Right.
Ostrander is a respected name, but he doesn't sell to the same crowds. And then the artist, like, I literally cannot remember who drew those. So that just kind of goes to show you, not a big deal back then. So it is appreciated if there is a last minute change to get that kind of update that can change some big numbers here and there. Just not with those books.
All right. Cool. And finally, the new trailer for Rogue One came out with and we all knew it was going to happen. Dun, dun, dun. Darth Vader showed up at the very end, and everybody was all excited to see Darth Vader. Were we all excited? Were we all excited to see Darth Vader?
Sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
No.
Yeah, he's lost some of his luster for
does,
me.
he has.
He's kind of, I just imagine him every time he's looking out the window just being like
Sad
like
Vader.
emo and like "Meow. I hate lava."
All right, and that's it for the news this week. If we missed anything that you want us to talk about, email us at perfectboundpodcast@gmail.com. And let's move on to book report, everybody. And let's start with Nicole.
All right, as promised, I'm going to be reviewing The Backstagers,
Yay.
Act 1. Thanks, everybody.
We did that.
Y'all are
pretty good.
synced up tonight. This is written by James Tynion IV, who coincidentally also writes Detective Comics for DC. Artist illustrated by Ryan Sy, Sygh, and colors and letters and covers and all kinds of things by amazing, wonderful humans, including Veronica Fish. She did the cover. She's a wonderful person.
We like her.
Yeah, we like her. Her art style's really fabulous. Okay, so it starts off with this new kid named Jory, and he is not so into being social. He's at an all-boys school, and he's talking to his mom, and he's like, boys are scary, and they fart a bunch. And his mom is like, Jory. And he's like, always farting, so much farting. Take me home, away from the farting. So he's trying to just convince his mother, like, I just need to, be in a room by myself and do my thing. Got my sketchbook, whatever. I don't, need anybody. And then she's just like, just try to find something. He's like, well, there's one club that I might be interested in. And it's the drama club. So it says drama club starts today. So he goes backstage. Meanwhile, there's these strange little creatures that have like things popping out of their heads. This one has pencils popping out. You're like, okay, so there's some strange creatures. And he shows up there. He doesn't really jive with the artsy people, but they send him on a mission to go down to talk to the stage crew people. Where he finds that there's just a lot of strangeness happening. There's these things called tool rats, which is what you saw before, and they all have different tools. They have like forks coming out of them, or nails, or like wrenches, or something like that. And there's just this whole deep underground cavern filled with mystery and magic and stuff. And it's a ragtag team of people who love being the backstagers. Get it? Huh? Backstagers,
Gotcha.
stage crew. And he finds that he fits in with them really well and, joins their crowd. So it's kind of Lumberjanes-y in that it's got strange mythical creatures. It's definitely got this friendship to the max vibe, even though they don't say friendship to the max. It's fun, and it definitely fits in with Boombox's other titles. I think that this is a great one. So if you like Lumberjanes, if you like what Boombox is doing and Kaboom, definitely pick up Backstagers.
Cool. Backstagers. Thanks, Nicole.
That's it.
I was trying to see the issue, but it's Act 1.
Act
Okay.
1.
And it's about theater, which is great. All right. Chris Cassell, what about you, sir?
Archaea, which is part of Boom, released Jim Henson's Labyrinth 30th Anniversary Special. It's 44 pages. It's $10. I'm going to talk about that later. It's a bunch of short stories with a range of creators, including Gustavo Duarte, who did the Bizarro series a year ago, Corey Godby, Adam Smith, Kyla Vanderplugt. I really like her. Ted Nefai, Jonathan Case, Jeff Stokely, and they're really cute, quick, short stories. Most of them about Ludo. Almost all of them about Ludo. Lots of Ludo. Some more Ludo. And then you get some goblins. You get the goblin who ran the big old humongous thingy. And then back to Ludo, and then and
The Ludo anniversary.
The Ludo show.
You do get a quick one about Sir Didymus.
I always wondered, was his first name Epi?
What?
Epi Didymus.
Oh.
Okay, keep going.
So yeah, it's really cute. It's really well put together. It's only 44 pages for $10.
Oh, dear.
I have a problem with it. It's
Yeah. You
have a problem with
super
that.
high quality paper.
But
It's shiny. You can probably cut somebody with it.
But the stories don't look that dense. It's not.
They're quick. They're fluff. It's nostalgia fluff. So you're paying $10 for the nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
There's no Goblin King. There's no what was the main girl's name?
Jennifer Connelly. I don't know
Connelly's.
which.
I forget the character. Sarah.
I remember her name.
Sarah.
Yeah, I
I
think you might be close.
Poggle's the only other name I remember from that.
Yeah, Hoggle's very
Or Hoggle.
brief in here.
Apparently, I don't remember it.
Yeah. There's the thing about Hoggle wanting to learn how to date.
But we remember Sir Didymus, darn it.
There's a thing about Hoggle wanting to learn how to date, and the little worm from the beginning tries to teach him and all that. So they're cute things. This is definitely if you don't buy many comics but you love Labyrinth, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of selling on the Goblin King aspect because the variant cover was by Dave McKean and it was all about getting the Goblin King on there. And then there's a variant by Mike Allred that had a super shiny globe and the baby and the Goblin King. So it's just and then you get it and you're like, oh, there's a distinct lack of Bowie in here.
Yeah.
The Bowie rating is about a 0. So
Were there going to be more Labyrinth books from Archaea? I mean, I thought this was part of the whole package of
they're
the Jim
working on
Henson package that
some
they were
stuff,
putting
but
out.
I can't even remember when the next one is and what it is.
Because they did the Dark Crystal sequel,
Yeah.
right? And then they did the Tale of Sand,
Tale of
which I just
Sand.
absolutely adore.
Yeah, they're timing this one out with the anniversary, so that's understandable. It's probably because they couldn't get the rights for the likeness of David Bowie.
Probably not.
because they got the owl, so he's technically there.
Right. But I would assume if you had the Goblin King on the cover in a variant, that's bait and switch, right?
Kind of, but they probably did have to pay for the usage of that one thing. And there is a nice... I've seen this image online for the past, 8 years. I think that's by Ted Nefai, who did Courtney Crumrin. So you get him there,
Yeah.
but that's all you get in the book. So it's still a very good book. I don't want to knock it. The creators are amazing. There's some really beautiful artwork happening in there. Please, thank you. It's just one of those, if you really love Labyrinth, there you go. Or if you've got some extra money or you get a discount, that makes the blow a little bit easier. Because 44 pages is kind of
He'd go through that in 15 minutes.
Oh, it took
Maybe
me
not even
5
if
minutes.
that. If
Yeah,
that.
that took me 5 minutes. Because Ludo's dialogue is a little
No,
sparse.
of course.
The rocks are the other part of the script. So yeah, it's fun. Be wary.
All right. Labyrinth, cool. Thanks, Chris. Cole Hornaday, what do you want to tell us about
Well,
this week?
the book I'm reviewing this week was anything but a quick visit to comic book land, and I've been procrastinating about reading this since I got it, and I'm sad that it's got Mr. The World's Longest Cat hair all over it too, and I'm sorry I didn't bring the dust cover. This is Puma Blues, which originated in 1985. It was a really wild and wonderful series originally written by Stephen Murphy and Michael Zulli, that is set in the distant future of 1997, and it was the only book outside of Cerebus the Aardvark that Dave Sim was publishing through Aardvark International, and one of the reasons why the series was never truly finished were some distribution hang-ups that came when Dave Sim was trying to work out renegotiate distribution for Cerebus the Aardvark and that sort of thing. But that's neither here nor there. The plot deals with a young man named Gavia Immer, and Gavia Immer is actually Latin for loon, which I learned from reading the book. When I originally read this series, I read it month to month, and I couldn't tell you what the heck was going on in it. I knew that there was this guy living in a cabin on a lake in Massachusetts, and he had this gun, and with this gun, he would shoot these mutant flying black mantas. He wasn't killing them, he was like zapping them to somewhere else in space and time. And the black mantas were flying around this lake in New Hampshire, or Massachusetts rather, because there had been a nuclear bomb blast in the Bronx set off by terrorists a couple years before. So the whole book was very prescient and very surreal with regards to ecological disaster and terrorism and all these things. But I still found it fascinating. I just couldn't tell you what the heck was happening in it. And I eventually, ran out of steam reading the book. So I was really excited when I learned that they were reprinting this. But what I did not realize is that they finished the story. There's an additional 40 pages of new artwork and story that's set 20 years in the future from 1997. So, 2007? No, I think it's
2017.
It's 2017. I think it's set further in the future than that. It's a really beautiful and amazing story, and now I get it, and now I get what it was trying to say. It's an echo horror story, and it's incredibly poetic and incredibly beautiful, and you just can't have a happy ending when you're dealing with echo horror and echo terrorism. What I can say about it is that, and I had to write this down because I was actually getting kind of emotional when I was reading it. It's tragic and it's beautiful, and I hope when we as a species finally do destroy ourselves, it is done with so much poetry. The book is huge. It's 580 pages long, and if you're familiar with the work of Michael Zulli, then this is a real treat for you because you watch his skills evolve. And if you're not familiar with Michael Zulli, he drew a couple of story arcs for The Sandman, like the Midsummer Night's Dream story. He also did this beautiful Kickstarter book called The Fracture. Nicole, you always remember the name.
I always forget and then I have to look it up. But yeah, I have
The
it
Fracture. I wrote it down
because the Universal Boy.
The Fracture. Yes. The Fracture of the Universal Boy, which is this beautifully.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it makes no sense, but
but it's wonderful to look at.
But he also drew one of the best story arcs of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ever because it's done in this hyper realistic style, as though it was produced by Akira Kurosawa. So imagine the Ninja Turtle stories looking like a Kurosawa film. So, yes, I do recommend this book. It is not cheap. I don't remember what it retailed for because I left the dust cover at home. Do you remember, Chris?
I don't.
It might not even be still available either.
Really?
I don't
It's already out of
know.
print? I mean, you can find the individual issues, but you won't have the additional 40 pages, which is too bad. There was a reprint in the 90s of most of the series to that point called Watch That Man, which, again, is incomplete. But if you can get your hands on it, I recommend. I truly recommend.
All right, give us the name again.
Puma Blues.
Puma Blues.
By Murphy and Zulli.
Look at that giant book. That's not your standard comic anthology.
It's like a Riverside Shakespeare, man. It's huge.
Yeah, look at that.
And listen, that's a book.
And it's got cat hair all over it.
That's it. It's mystery hair
adds to
all
its
over it.
So
Leave it on your book. Don't throw it in the store.
yeah, Chris has to vacuum that up later. All right, and if you're playing the
It's all over me anyway, right?
If you're playing the Black Manta drinking game, then I apologize.
Whoa!
Yeah. All right, so, that's Book Report, and that's our show, and coming up is quiz time, but before we go, I want to tell you that the Perfect Bound Podcast is brought to you by The Panel Jumper. See everything Nicole Hornaday and I do at thepaneljumper.com, and Comics Dungeon here at 319 Northeast 45th Street in beautiful downtown Wallingford, or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at comicsdungeon.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes, leave us a review if you like, or go to perfectboundpodcast.com and subscribe via any RSS reader, however you get your podcast. And now, friends, put your quiz hats on. It's time for quiz time. And this week, the questions come to us from me. This is about Amalgam Comics. How many of you remember Amalgam Comics? This might be just for you then.
No. I read them all too.
So, 20 years ago, Amalgam Comics was a joint venture. Amalgam Comics was a joint venture between Marvel and DC. In the Amalgam universe, characters from each publisher were merged to create a whole new character. I'm going to give you an Amalgam character, and you have to tell me what two different characters they are based on.
This is good, Ben. This is good.
This is courtesy of comicbookresources.com. They have one of those listicles things. Okay, number one, the Magnetic Man. Chris Casso.
Magneto and the Metal Man.
Yes, sir. Number two, Amazon. Cole Hornaday.
Storm and Wonder Woman.
Yes, sir. Number three, Sparrow. Chris?
Jubilee and Robin.
Yeah, number four,
nice.
Hyena. Chris? This is a weird one.
Joker and Cheetah. No.
Close. Joker is one of them.
Right.
All right, I'll give it to you.
Oh wait, no, it would be the other.
Yeah, you get
company.
two universes. You
Right.
gotta jump the other side of the river. Joker
And the Jackal.
Nope. Okay, I'm going to give it to you. It's Sabretooth.
Oh.
And finally, number five, Dark Claw. Cole.
Wolverine and Batman.
Yes, sir.
That was my
That's
favorite.
good.
I was always disappointed that they never merged Fin Fang Foom and Boom Boom from X-Force because you
Right.
get Fin Fang Boom Boom.
Right. Or Man Thing and Swamp Thing and get Thing Thing.
Thing Thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were a couple really obvious ones. There was like Doctor Strange Fate, which was Doctor
Yes,
Strange and Doctor
that was
Fate.
great.
The best thing that came out of that was the Hulk got merged with Solomon Grundy, so Dr. Banner would turn into Solomon Grundy. Yeah.
It's a pretty interesting list. If you've never heard of Amalgam Comics, check them out and look at the Amalgam.
The
universe.
best of the Amalgam stories are right there on your paper.
Oh yeah, those five.
That's
All right.
in essence, you got the best of it right there.
Hot dog. All right, points to me then. And with that, we're gonna leave. We will thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.